Welcome back to The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Farrier. Well, a conversation that started in St. George's is probably resonating around the world, given the nature of the conversation. When Father Gerard Paul took to the altar at Chrism Mass in St. George's to criticize the church for not being vocal enough on the Palestinian Gaza genocide by Israel, he got a lot of attention. Some agreed with him, some didn't. There's a big question about whether or not it was the right time and place for Father Paul to behave that way, as well as the fact that he remains within the church but seems to have been silent among his community and chose to go public with his dissatisfaction in the way the church has been handling or not handling the matter. But I'm joined on the program now by Archbishop Gabriel Malzaire, Archbishop of Castries. He has overall oversight of Grenada as well, to ask him about the church's position on the Gaza crisis and what the church is doing and the position that the church has been taking in this matter. I will also speak to him about the responsibility of priests in the matter of obedience and the vows that they have taken. Welcome to the program, Archbishop Malzaire.
Thank you very much, Callistra.
It's good to have you on. It's good to have you on The Narrative. So, fair or unfair comments, is the church a bit too quiet, or are we just not seeing or hearing what the church is doing, but the church is doing on that particular matter involving Gaza?
I mean, everyone would know that the church has always dealt with social issues, current issues that are affecting the world and the region and locally. But the magnitude with which one deals with this situation is relative. And there are various means by which we deal with situations that are happening around the world. We have the situation of Haiti. We have the situation of various parts of the world. I mean, we could do that through our prayers in the church. We could do that during our sermons, our homilies. We can make reference to the ills of the world. So to say that the church is not dealing with the issue, I don't think it is correct. Now, if one is seeking to have a loudspeaker to go about saying that, okay, we denounce the situation in Gaza, we denounce, it may not be something that will move the needle. I think the question of us conscientizing our people as to what is happening in the world, it is our duty, definitely. And I think the church is doing that. By this, I'm not saying that it is doing so sufficiently, but I think it is doing that.
So do you think that maybe Father Paul was being a bit disingenuous when he chose Chrism Mass in the environment of unity and renewal of the church to level those charges of the church, when in his own comments that he made, he talked about an event that he had been in, and he chose not to speak there? In an interview with me, he said that he chose not to say anything at that time, but then went public in that matter. Is that
well,
does that seem odd for a priest to handle the situation?
Certainly. I mean, I saw the interview, and I saw the not the interview, but the statement that he made, and the moment that I had a Christian Mass myself. I couldn't see that it would be a place of a priest to stand up and make an announcement at this time. It is really a moment that the bishop calls his priests together, and they renew their promises, the promises that they made at the ordination, and the promises to renew their vows to God. That's the moment for that. But I didn't think it was the right place for such a comment, really. That's my opinion.
If it was your priest, a priest in somewhere in Grosillet or somewhere like that, who did that, what would you do?
I don't know. I would deal with it accordingly.
Apart from praying about it.
I would deal with it. I would certainly deal with it. If it is something that needed to be sanctioned, I would deal with it accordingly.
Because priests have taken a vow of obedience. do you think that this vow was broken in the manner in which this Grenada situation played out?
I don't want to just give my opinion on how this particular thing played out. I think the local bishop has the prerogative to deal with a situation that arises in his diocese in the way that he sees fit, and I think Bishop Clyde Harvey is well placed to do that, to take a decision on the matter if he sees it requires this or that particular decision.
No, on the church in general, sometimes people, even us as Catholics, we complain that the church may not be fulfilling our expectations. Where do you see the Catholic Church right now, particularly in our sub-region here, the role that it needs to play and is playing? How is the church situated right now? I mean, I
Well,
observe in Grenada that we are not in the benches and not in the pews in the numbers that I remember us being there when I was a child.
right,
It seems that even myself, we're not as diligent to the church as we used to be.
right.
Yeah, is there a situation there that how do you get your people to come back?
Yeah, the task of evangelization is a continuous one, and it is an up and down situation. It's kind of, sometimes you're high, sometimes you're low. Maybe we are at a low moment, a low ebb. And of course the COVID situation did not help us. The task of evangelizing the world is a constant thing. I mean, we just came out of Easter, out of Lent. At the Last Supper, I mean, before Jesus left his disciples, he, even let us say the scene of Good Friday, his trusted friends abandoned him. Judas betrayed him. Peter said he didn't know him. So Jesus was going against a current of ignorance, of lack of understanding of his purpose. And we are in a world today that seem to be losing that sense of purpose in the world. Now, where the church finds itself situated is that we have that responsibility of bringing people back as much as possible. Maybe we need to strategize better. We need to be more inclusive. We need to go out to the public instead of waiting for people to come. It means that we have to study where the world is at. Recently, you would know that our Holy Father speaks of synodality, to become a synodal church, to welcome, to be more welcoming to people, to be more inclusive, to be a listening church. Maybe we have not been sufficiently that, And the Holy Father saw the tremendous need for us to listen to every person, especially those on the periphery. So as to whether we are doing what we ought to do, I think the spectrum is as wide as we possibly can think of it. If people are not responding as they should, it means that something is amiss, and we need to really study the situation and try to evangelize in the manner that we see fit, or let's say the manner that God is calling us.
That God is calling. And also there's we have always, we look at the church. The church has to serve our needs and give to us, but we need to serve the church. The church is its people, and its survival, its continued mission depends on us giving more than looking to receive. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think we have quite a bit to learn in terms of what it means to be church. One of the things that I have always said to people in the Caribbean, for example, we I would say, in quote, at a disadvantage, in the sense that we have grown in a church that used to receive and receive and receive from abroad. I mean, all the structures that you have in Grenada, in St. Lucia, or in the Caribbean, were built by some person who came and did it for us. They did it for us. They brought the funds from abroad and they did it for us. And I don't think we have cultivated the fact that the church belongs to us. We always see that someone else has to do it for us, and so I think it is an area that we have to learn that we are the church, and if the church is going to improve and expand, we are the ones to do it. It has to be homegrown. It doesn't mean that we will not relate with people from outside. Yes, because the church is universal. However, for us to adopt the disposition that we are it, we are the church, that if it is to move forward, that we are the ones to create that. I'm not sure that we have sufficiently gotten there.
I wonder how do you think we can get there?
By education, by evangelization, by teaching the right way, and by having a sense of ownership. There is one word that is very popular to our present Holy Father is co-responsibility. That we are all responsible for what goes on in the church, and unfortunately, we're not there yet. And I think the whole understanding of synodality is the drive towards that, so that we all see ourselves as responsible for the configuration that the church will take in the future.
Archbishop, do you think that the dark past of the church is having an impact now? We saw all of those scandals of priests who were committing crimes against children. And this is something that, and for a long time, the church had covered this up and swept it under the rug. It all came exploding out into the public at some point. Do you think that maybe the church is still reeling from this darkness?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. And I always like to use the text of 1 Corinthians 12, verse 26, where St. Paul says that, if one part of the body is hurt, the entire body is affected by it. If one part of the body enjoys healing, all the parts they all benefit from it. And it's the same. Whatever that happens in the church in a negative way, it affects everybody. So I cannot exempt myself and say that I'm holier than thou and I'm better than this person. No. Whatever each member does, especially if we're in a leadership position, we affect people. We affect the church in a big way. I mean, of course, if the Pope does something, he will affect the church in a particular way. If a bishop does, he will affect the church in a particular way. If a priest does, he will affect the church in a particular way. And unfortunately, we have had those in our midst. And, people, of course, they lose faith in us because of those situations.
And what I find is that I do not see any major effort on the part of the church to try to earn that trust and faith back.
Well, I mean, that's a relative thing. I mean, I would say that I try the best I can, and I'm sure other bishops are trying the best. We may not moving at jet-like speed to do so, but that's the task that we have, to renew the face of the earth by whatever we do.
And I think another issue that has come up with the Holy Father saying giving permission to bless same-sex unions. That's not marriage, not to perform blessings on the day that someone goes through a civil ceremony to join together in a same-sex relationship, but just generally, that also has caused some division in the church.
Yes.
What's your take on it? Are you going?
Well, I mean, it was certainly a very, very controversial issue that certainly spanned the world over. I certainly made statements on it, and I try to explain to my people as much as possible. I think it is certainly a challenging situation, and I think it's a dangerous trend to take. So therefore, I mean, I think it's one of the things that can be a source of division to the church.
So you will not be performing blessings under any circumstances?
Well, I'm not going to do anything that I have not been doing before. I have been a bishop, I've been a priest, and I have always blessed people, and I do it appropriately.
Because I know our bishop here in Grenada, I asked him this question about this matter as well. And his position was that while the church, he does not believe the intent is to support homosexuality, but to, the gist of it would be to recognize even gay people as human beings as well, deserving of the love of God, and while this is not supporting the gay marriage or gay relationships, but it is supporting, the love of God for every human being. What do you think of that
Well, I
take?
mean, the position of the church has always been the love of humanity. God loves everybody equally, but we cannot condone anything that is sinful. That's as simple as that. God loves the sinner, but He does not love the sin, and we have to call sinner by its name.
And you believe
That's as much as I would say.
blessing same-sex couples is sort of acknowledging the sin?
We have to call sin by its name.
What would you say, coming out of Lent, coming out of Easter, what would be your message to Catholics and just humankind at this time, Archbishop?
You know, Callistra, the resurrection of Jesus has done it all. It is really the climax of all that humanity, all that the salvation history worked for, and Jesus has brought it to its climax. And I think by celebrating Easter, it tells us what is possible with with human beings. That of course we are still in a situation of sin, that we are still fighting it, but there is hope. There is hope. There is hope for salvation. And Jesus has proven to us that it is. And this, to my mind, is the lesson that we can get out of Easter. Having gone through the entire Lenten season, examining ourselves, examining our world situation and what needs to be redressed, what needs to be corrected. And coming to Easter tells us that, yes, if I have died to something, I have sacrificed something, it means that I can continue in life in a new way. In fact, just tomorrow morning we have a 9 churches pilgrimage going around the island, praying for this to fight against the kind of crime that is happening in St. Lucia today. We, as a church, we're doing that. It tells us of possibilities. That we may look at the negatives around us. We may look at all the things that shouldn't happen, and even within the church. But how are we dealing with it? Are we just accepting the fact that there are negative things around us, or are we doing something positive to give hope to our people? And I think that is really the crux of the matter. So to give a sense of hope to people who have maybe a little faith, but to give that hope.
To spark a little
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
All right. Archbishop, I want to thank you so much for joining me on The Narrative. It was a pleasure to have you on, and I look forward to having you as a regular guest on my program so we can speak more about the church, the role of the church, and the work that the church is doing. I'd appreciate that.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much, Callistra, and have a very good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Archbishop. This is The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Farrier, speaking there to Archbishop Gabriel Malzaire, Bishop of Castries, on the role of the church, as well as the incident in St. George's regarding Father Gerald Paul, who might now be facing disciplinary action by his own bishop, Bishop Clyde Harvey. And that's a story we will continue to follow. More when we come back.